Good afternoon, and welcome to Unity Church-Unitarian. I'm Reverend Lara Cowton, and I bid you welcome, virtually, online, and in person, as we gather to celebrate and remember the life of Jean Phillips Baker, beloved mother, grandmother, aunt, friend. We gather to mourn, to celebrate, and to say goodbye. Welcome. Welcome to this time and place where sorrow, joy, memory, grief, and hope join to create a living memory of Jean Baker, whose presence in this life brought spirit and sustenance to so many. Today, you join in the ancient tradition of celebrating a well-lived life in song and in story. The gift of this occasion will itself become a source of sustenance for those who live on to remember. We are mindful that many faith traditions inform our individual journeys, and we hold in gratitude the foundations of love and service that those traditions hold in common. Jean asked that these words by Philip Simmons be read today for all of you. Life is both more and less than what we hoped for, both more comic and tragic than we knew. Comedy ends in happiness, while tragedy yields wisdom. We want, I suppose, to be happily wise and wisely happy. Only then can we know the full blessings of our imperfect lives. In keeping with the Unitarian Universalist tradition practiced here at Unity Church, we will light our chalice today with the words of Jan Richardson. For those who walked with us, this is a prayer. For those who have gone ahead, this is a blessing. For those who have touched and tended us while they lived, this is a thanksgiving. For those who journey still with us in the shadows of awareness, in the crevices of memory, in the landscape of our dreams, this is a benediction. In the presence of life, we say no to death. In the presence of death, we say yes to life. Will you please rise now in body or in spirit and join me in singing our opening hymn, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. It's number 108 in your hymnals. Jean Baker has died. And the lives of those who knew and loved her have been irreparably changed. But let us not forget an equally powerful truth. Jean Baker has lived. And her life touched and changed every person here today. Today we are gathered as much in gratitude as in grief. At a service such as this, we recognize that something has been lost that will not be returned to us except through stories and memories and dreams and imagination. But it is through sharing these memories and these stories that part of Jean is restored to us. We are here to share a few of those memories and stories. And by this simple act, we begin the slow work of changing our relationship with her. And although we do not claim to know what happens to us after we die, we do know that death itself comes to us all. This fact is what awakens us to the awareness that our lives are finite and numbered. And we also know that each of us will, at some point in our lives, face grief. There is not one way to grieve, nor is it a straight path. Grief knows its own time and rhythm. So do not judge yourself or those around you as we grieve in different ways. And no one person can sum up the life of another. Life is too precious to be passed over with mere words which ring empty. Rather, it must remain as it is remembered by those who loved and watched and shared from many angles, from many facets, our incomplete pictures of those who we love. Such memories are alive, unfettered by events of birth and death. They live on, and as living memories, we possess the greatest gift that one person can give to another. It is then to each of you that the living memories of Jean Baker's life is committed. To your hearts and minds go the enduring remembrances of this one and very precious life. Today we gather at the well to hold each other and this family in the midst of their loss, and to be reminded that life is indeed a precious and fragile gift. Let us now share a time of silence together. Silence can be a balm for a wounded or weary spirit, and a space, a generative space, for memories to emerge. I met Jean on my first visit with the Unity Church group at the Episcopal Homes in August. I'd been here a week. She was sitting at the end of the table in a very bright top with very bright lipstick and a smile that lit up the room. She was welcoming, and she was interested in me. Where did I come from? How am I finding St. Paul? She had freshly returned the day before, 2 days earlier, from her time with family at Madeline Island. And she glowed. She glowed as she shared the stories of her children's and her grandchildren's and great-grandchildren's activities and escapades. Jean was full of life. And she had indeed lived a full life. Jean was always curious and adventurous and energetic, having climbed mountains in the Canadian Rockies just as a young girl, and sailing, not just on a cruiser, but on a sailboat across the Atlantic. Jean was one of 4 sisters who were raised in a time and in a way that led them to experience life boldly and with high expectations. And at home in St. Paul, she managed an apartment building, and she raised a family, and she volunteered, teaching many newcomers to read and speak English. She was so very welcoming. This I can well imagine. With her warm and encouraging, open, curious presence. What I've learned about Jean is that she put tremendous value and care into her relationships with people and into her time with nature. Her friends speak of countless happy hours, many at the pub at Episcopal Homes, along with suppers and opera at Montcalm. And they say that Jean was positive and fun-loving and supportive and interested in people's lives and always encouraging of them. Jean loved her time at Madeline Island, playing tennis with boundless energy and team spirit. Until she was 86 years old, she played tennis. I understand she was always ready after that anyways, just in case. She loved swimming, boating, gardening, soaking up the air and the trees, the water, season after season, with respect, with gratitude and reverence, becoming a part of the natural beauty that nourished her. Jean was a lifelong learner, valuing education and staying in touch with the ever-increasing complexities of the world so she could engage in curious conversation, trying to understand, trying to help others understand and also be curious. Jean's lifelong friend, Sue Headley Keller's memories illustrate Jean's life well. She shared this with me and the family. She wrote, "I don't remember not knowing Jean. I knew the love, the brightness, the vivaciousness, the lover of people who saw others' needs so well, the unbendable core strength that she usually hid, and the great pride she had in her children and grandchildren. I first knew Mrs. Baker when she and my mother were both members of a group of smart women raising children in the 50s and 60s. The group, called the Reading Club, actually read and discussed books in the early years. Mostly, for the next 6 decades, this group of women helped each other through the rigors and joys of life and the sadness of diseases, divorces, and deaths. I would hear about her children and sailing and ski trips and tennis playing and skating and her triumphs over breast cancer and divorce. And as I grew into an adult, Mrs. Baker became Jean. And I started to realize what a unique, solid treasure she was. I learned about the depth of her concern for others when she, seeing that I struggled to attend to the needs of a teen, a grade school child, and an aging mother, stepped in to help arrange my mother's social life and transportation. She had that same compassion for those she didn't know, too, and gave her time and guidance and empathy to a Somali family. She greatly added to the camaraderie of a balance exercise class that we shared at Madeline Island and inspired all, including me, to persevere, to become a fit elder, both physically and mentally. And somewhere in the midst of that, she invited me to join the group of 80 and 90-year-olds to play weekly bridge games, which she excelled at, even though she had learned to play later in life. Those women no longer cared that I was a generation removed and talked of their lives. And I learned about aging gracefully. Thank you. Thank you, Sue, for sharing that with us. Jean died a few weeks after I got to meet her, and her life ended the same way that she lived it, on her own terms. She had declared to her friends at the Episcopal homes, "I saw everything I wanted to see, and I did everything I wanted to do." And one of her friends remarked, that she shared to me, "But Jean, the tomatoes are just coming in." But Jean knew the rich taste of freshly ripened tomatoes. Jean's life and legacy are richly woven in the stories shared by those who knew and loved her, by those gathered here today, here and online. And we are all, each one of us, deeply blessed by the life of Jean Baker.
Well, our family's really grateful that you're all here. Means a lot. Our mother had a long and full life. I love thinking about all the stages of life she experienced and her many roles. Mom was a baby, a little girl, teenager, young college woman, daughter, sister, wife, mother, friend, grandmother, great-grandmother, and the matriarch to many. Mom was kind, humble, curious about the world and others, and a great listener. Gratitude came easily to her. The personal challenges Mom experienced, such as breast cancer, divorce in her 70s, and finally old age, she faced head-on with courage, revealing a strong inner strength. Mom always thought about the meaning of life and death, but more so as she aged. Again, that curiosity. This past year, Mom's connection to life dimmed. She was fully aware she was struggling with her memory, finding words, and losing the independence she so valued. This summer, Mom shared with each of us her desire to be done, that she felt like a stranger to herself, and often like she was just going through the motions. So in the end, Mom had full agency, bravely choosing no sustenance. Instead, she had full unconditional love those last days, which is what she fully deserved. So let us rejoice in a life well lived.
Stars, Songs, Faces by Carl Sandburg. Gather the stars if you wish it so. Gather the songs and keep them. Gather the faces of women and men and children. Gather for keeping years and years. And then loosen your hands, let go and say goodbye. Let the stars and the songs go. Let the faces and the years go. Loosen your hands and say goodbye.
These reflections, shared by Jean's family and friends, illustrate her inner strength, her love of nature and people, her youthful, adventurous spirit and curiosity, and her integrity as a role model.
I admire your strong will and conviction. I've always been proud to have such a cool, independent, curious grandmother. I'll always remember you at my college graduation, and when you visited me in New York, and at my wedding when Emma walked me down the aisle, and the times you spent with Ellis and Paul. It warms my heart when Ellis recognizes you in photos, smiling ear to ear and yelling your name. That's from Louise Parker, granddaughter.
And from Amy Bremaker Swenson, Jean's niece. Through all these years, your kindness, your decorum, and your womanly wisdom have been a model and a standard that I only hope to emulate. And how fortunate I've been to have you as my wise counsel, the person who was forever open to listening to my chatter, my worries, my troubles, my anxieties, open to anything on my mind, and willing to give me your most prudent advice.
It's from Peter Baker, grandson. We spent countless winter evenings together when my parents and brother were out of town. She would pick me up at school. Our first stop was either Como Park Zoo or the lookout above the Ford Locks. Then homework at the kitchen table and dinner. Dessert was Schwann's vanilla ice cream with Nesquik dusted generously over the top. I'd get into my PJs, roll out my sleeping bag on our living room floor before heading off to school the next morning. This ritual is ours and is one of the most cherished memories together.
From her nephew, Tim Bremaker. You were my mother's anchor during a tragic period in her life. I came to see you as one of the most loving and capable persons I have ever known. Without your support and love, Mom would not have had the wonderful care she deserved and received, and the blessed dignity she needed. Your loyalty and love for her was unequaled.
This is from me. Mom found great peace in nature. It was perhaps her God, her spiritual center. She hungered to be outdoors, surrounded by the beauty and sounds of the natural world. She would pause, look out, listen, and take it all in. A pond, a beautiful tree, a flower, a mountain. Mom and I share this love, and even as her mobility became limited, we would bundle up and head to a park or lake, traveling as far as her energy and her walker would take her, in the snow or in the rain, and comment on the magnificent beauty.
From grandson, Henry Parker. I cherish the memory of the day we brought our sons to visit their great-grandmother. Our toddler, George, explored Jean's apartment, discovering her figurines and curios, bringing them to her one by one while she patiently and happily identified each object. Next was a game of hide and seek around her bed. And despite being separated by 97 years, they found immense joy in one another.
This is from granddaughter Emma Hushen. My favorite memory is when Grandma Jean came to ride our horse, Lewis. Watching her get on the young horse at the age of 85 was thrilling to me. I hope to be riding horses when I'm 85 as well. My grandmother was one badass woman.
From Ross Baker, grandson. During summers on Madeline Island, Peter and I were witness to Grandma's morning routine. First, instant coffee, enjoyed by the window overlooking the lake. Second, bike to town. Pick up the newspaper, bike up the big hill, walk, bike if needed. Third, tennis. Get back on bike, meet friends at tennis courts. This was only the beginning of her day. And after the adults cleared off the courts, Grandma would play with Peter and me. Years after Grandma was no longer playing tennis, her racket remained in the back of her car. Perhaps she was keeping it there to remind herself that age is only a mindset, and she had many, many more years ahead of her. Grandma, game, set, match.
This is from Jean's grandson, Mark Hushen. You've seen it all and been to many places and befriended many people. You have been a wonderful woman, mother, and grandmother. I will miss you with all of my heart and think about our time spent on the dock, at the beach, or eating ice cream.
Amelia Parker, granddaughter. I remember watching The Price is Right with you when I had to stay home sick from school. I really loved that show. Thank you for bringing Madeline into our lives. I'm so happy you were able to meet Ellis, George, Paul, and James. And don't worry, I'll make sure someone has a girl.
I have such warm memories of growing up alongside my cousin under my Aunt Jean's caring wing. Peanut butter and potato chip sandwiches at 702 Goodrich. The toy box she painted for my childhood bedroom, and all the costumes for our role playing in the backyard. It's from Jim Ross, her nephew.
And from niece, Sally McCallum Saylor. I wonder if you ever counted how many sweaters you knit. I know Mom asked you once for a pattern, and your response was, I never use patterns. I just know what to do.
This is from Ellie Burr, niece. I know Jean is at peace, and it was her choice, but I'm still so sad because the generation of Philip's sisters has come to an end.
From her friend, Neil Hilsley. Jean was my friend for such a long time, and such a good one. She was always looking for the best in others.
This is from Amy Younger, a childhood friend of Sally Baker Hushen's. How does one say thank you for the attention and inclusion of a young teen who needed solace and was desperate for a change of scene? Jean, thank you for your modeling of cheerfulness and good humor for me, for being so observant and thoughtful, for trusting me in your home, and for befriending my mother.
From niece Sarah Ross Caruso. What I find most special about Jean is her genuine interest in so much of the world and the people in it. She connected with people every step of the way. Being Jean's niece brought such joy and comfort to my life. For 64 years, she gave me unencumbered love and support. These are but a few voices among the chorus of those who carry memories of Jean. Please add your voices now as we sing together one of her very favorite hymns. Please rise in body or in spirit and join us in singing For the Beauty of the Earth. It's number 21 in your hymnals.
Oh
These words from Joan Didion illuminate Jean's own disposition on life and also our own charge in remembrance of her. Joan Didion wrote, "I'm just telling you to live in it. Not just to endure it, not just to suffer it, not just to pass through it, but to live in it, to look at it, to try to get the picture, to live recklessly, to take chances, to make your own work and take pride in it, to seize the moment. And if you should ask me why you should bother to do it, I could tell you that the grave's a fine and private place, but none, I think, do there embrace. Nor do they sing there or write there or see the tidal bore on the Amazon or touch their children. And that's what there is to do, and get it while you can, and good luck at it. This we know. All life is a gift. Jean Baker's life was a gift. Her love of nature, life, and adventure inspired that very love in others. Jean's unique expression of those gifts will be missed, and you can honor her memory best by your own expression of her very rich legacy in the days ahead of you. In her honor and in gratitude for her life, this is your charge. Offering a reassuring and encouraging smile to one whose confidence may be flagging. Welcoming, making space for newcomers. Seek out nourishment and peace and sanctuary in the embrace of nature. Practice kindness, curiosity, and openness towards others. Knit a sweater. Gather with friends for a glass of wine or a bowl of ice cream with too much Nesquik on top. Pause in the midst of any day and breathe in the gift that is your own life. And give thanks for being the living memory of Jean Baker's, as you continue to spread the joy that will become your legacy. Jean, those who love you and mourn for you will always know you in the sun and in the rain, in the new green shoots of spring, in the richness and abundance of summer, in the brilliant colors of autumn, in the quiet inward pull of winter. May the blessings of this day go with us and through us into the larger life of the world this afternoon and forevermore. Amen.